Howdy, kids. Welcome to a new podcast featuring
Me,
us
Jared, and
and me, Ryan.
yes. So, this podcast is basically a overview of the history of sci-fi and
Sci-fi film.
yeah, sci-fi film. TV sucks. No, TV's fine. I have no beef against television.
TV is for fucking losers.
Ugh. But so we are starting off this series with a trip to the moon, and I'm not gonna say the French name because I don't want to get
No.
I don't want to get internet hate. I
Yeah.
don't want to be bullied. So we just watched it. It's like 14 minutes long, except when you watch it at half frame rate, which is what some people like to do. It is 8 minutes long. Well, it's like 7 minutes long. I don't know. You do the math. I'm not doing the math now. But
No.
so
This we decided this would be where to start with sci-fi. Well, I didn't decide it. The Wikipedia article did, but I think it's a good start because of obviously the subject matter is space themed, but also just that it's very much it's very much about its special effects, which
Yes.
is a big thing for sci-fi, for better or for worse.
Sci-fi has always in history had to be like top of the game with special effects because the whole point of it is you're showing like it's science fiction, it's fictional stuff, it's usually like space stuff, and that stuff is hard to do without doing some very fancy special effects. And so this is the very first big example of them, hey, we're just gonna like go all out with the practical effects and like do something that you like that looks like it would never be able to happen in real life. And that was going to the
That
moon,
was this.
which happened 50 years later.
Apparently, there's a lot of speculation on though. Apparently, Méliès has never said outright. There's a lot of speculation that it was inspired by a handful of Jules Verne novels, which seems to make sense. He was one of the premier sci-fi authors, not even at the time, but before the time.
Yeah, it's inspired by Jules Verne's 1865 novel From the Earth to the Moon, and then another sequel from 1870 called Around the Moon. I assume those are about going to the moon.
And then going around the moon.
Yeah, around the moon. I assume the first one is just them going to the moon, and then it just stops abruptly, and you have to wait.
Yeah, and then
you have to wait 5 years. You have to wait 5 years for the sequel to come out, where they're actually just going around the moon.
They're just taking a stroll.
Yeah, and apparently, so in the film, they use like a cannon. Well, in the film and also this, yeah. So in the film, they use a cannon-propelled capsule. They basically just shoot them to the moon.
Yeah.
With a gun, with a giant gun.
Which theoretically works for getting them there, but we'll get to it when we get to it. But the way they get off the moon is very interesting.
Yeah, it's not what I expected. But like, let's just start off with what are your initial thoughts of this movie?
I like many people around our age group, I would imagine. Though I actually don't know when the book came out, but the movie came out when we were kids. Everything I know about George Méliès I first learned through Hugo.
Oh yeah.
And apparently a lot of that is quite accurate. He really did like start selling toys in a train station.
Yeah, Hugo is.
But he was never like secretive about his past that I could find. Better plot device. Anyway.
Yeah.
In that book, there's a quote that movies are dreams you see while you're awake. And before you've seen a silent movie, you're like, oh, that's really profound. Like that's the best thing that you can compare it to. But I think part of it is because they don't make any goddamn sense.
That's exactly it.
I'm like, what happened? Because there's a plot section. I'm just gonna level with you. We're both looking at the Wikipedia page.
It's the only way podcasts are made. You
names these characters that are never named.
Yeah, like, is there? I assume there's like some sort of script that was written to be like, okay, yeah, here's what you're like doing. Here's stage directions.
Here's your stage directions.
And maybe they named the characters in that, but my guess is they just made this shit up. Like someone, I don't know, where did they get this from? So there's some. Oh yeah, here we go. Proper names taken from the authorized English language catalog description of the film. whatever that means.
Fascinating. That's a lot of words.
That's a
Anyway,
lot
that
of
is not to say
words.
that I did not enjoy it. It's definitely interesting, and it's something I feel like if you're interested in film, it's what, like 9 minutes. You might as well.
Yeah. Oh, if you want to watch
But
it at the slow speed. Ugh.
it is difficult to parse
Yeah, it dragged a little bit. I hate to
a
admit
little
it, but
bit.
this movie dragged a little bit. And so like the beginning scene is just basically a bunch of wizards just like
Some space
just
lizards.
just kind of like moving around a room. And then a guy comes up to the chalkboard and like draws a line, and then they all freak out. Like it's highly entertaining in the fact that it's absolutely not interesting at all.
It's a little bit inscrutable.
Exactly. And
and
like
and the way the acting is very emblematic of the time, because Méliès worked in like magic shows and like clown stuff, so everything's very overacted,
yes.
and it's shot that sort of way. But that's one of the things that's interesting about Méliès, is that he really saw film as an extension of magic tricks.
Yeah, I mean
He was just trying to see what he could do.
it was just a giant magic trick at the I mean film was a giant magic trick at the time. Like you bring in
Yeah,
people to watch a film and they'd like faint because they're like, "Oh my god, what is this magic?"
I from what I understand, that's slightly hyperbolized. People were definitely like, "What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I've been told. I was not there in 1902. So
What?"
as far as I know. But
Poser.
so yeah, so like this entire thing, I mean, it feels like an experiment in the medium. And it's maybe 8 scenes in total, maybe 9 or 10 scenes in total, where they just kind of move about this like elaborate set. Maybe elaborate's a strong word, but like
No, they're pretty
it's
elaborate.
pretty elaborate. It's hard to tell. We were watching like a 480p rip of this because we wanted like a specific film score version of it. We'll get into
Yeah,
that in a little
the
bit.
version I had found had music by Air,
Yeah.
and I thought that was really funny for some reason. So Jared insisted on finding the version with the music by Air.
Yes. So it was a little bit difficult to fully take in the elaborate set pieces that they were using, but my compliments to them.
Compliments to
Very
them.
well done. Yeah. So
Yeah,
speaking of that music by Air, so yeah, the version he found was music by Air, and we were like, what the heck is music by Air? What does that mean? And apparently, some like French electronic group like made
yeah.
a score
The
to the
electronic
movie.
group Air.
And when was this made? When did they do that? I don't know. I
I
didn't
think
look
it
it
was
up.
2012, 2011.
Okay, so yeah, so it's like it's just like just constant, just like electronic, like ambient music throughout the entire movie,
Yeah,
which kind of
it's
fits.
it's interesting. It's interesting for sure.
Yeah. And
So
like I assume
what
the purest way of watching it is like with music of the time and like what we actually hear in a theater, but no, we must do it
we
our
want
own
anything
unique way.
pure,
Yes.
we would hire an artist.
Yes, I mean this is art. Art changes, and we have changed it.
Yes.
So what else? Okay, so like the next scene after this whole wizards just walking around a room and freaking out over a guy.
Wizard conference.
Yes, the wizard conference, as I described it, I think at one point, is like kind of getting to the point where they're like launching the bullet. So it turns out like actually the next scene is them building this bullet that they're going to be launched in. I mean, it literally looks like a bullet. It's just a giant like 9mm bullet. So 9mm, no longer 9mm, like more like 9 meters. And so they're like all freaking out over the construction of it, like they're kind of like distracting the people making it. And these are like these people who are like going to be launching it. These are like aristocratic, with like the wigs. I don't.
Yeah.
Were people even wearing wigs like that anymore at that time? I assume not.
I don't know. It didn't come up in my extensive research.
This was France, and maybe France was different, but yeah. So they're just having a ball, and they get in the capsule, and then like the cute girls like push the capsule into the cannon, and then they get this guy with literally like a lighter like lights the fuse to the cannon.
Yeah, and they get straight zooted right to the moon. They get straight zooted right.
They're
to
like
the moon.
it's like pointing straight at the moon because that's how it works, I guess.
It's worth saying that just to be fair, Jules Verne, when he was writing to the Earth, from the Earth to the Moon, took into consideration almost everything that would have been a real consideration to take in going to the moon, like even like early idea of a spacesuit and like using the sun to its gravity or whatever. But George Méliès was not a scientist; he was a magician. So they just shoot a gun at the moon.
He just took whatever this guy wrote and he's like, "What are these words? I don't understand them," and just like completely rewrites it into a magic trick.
Gun to the moon?
Gun to the moon. We're pointing a gun at the moon. We're just launching that shit. So
and then there's the iconic image where they literally shoot the moon in the face.
Because the moon has a face. Everything in this movie has a face.
Except for the rocket.
Except for the rocket. I really wish the rocket had a face. So yeah, they shoot the moon in the eye, and that's like the famous image of the moon just chilling with a bullet in its eye, and the bullet is also
it looks pretty peeved.
Like is like 1/8 the size of the moon, and then all of a sudden it's like not. So this film is just wild. I love it. And so yeah, and then the guys just get out of the capsule and they're like, "Yo, yeah, we're here now," and they're not in spacesuits, of course.
And then it's nap time.
And it's nap time. Yeah, they just kind of like, well, okay, first there's like an explosion. You gotta remember there's an explosion.
I would like to read verbatim from the Wikipedia page. No, that's bad practice. Landing safely on the moon, the astronomers get out of the capsule without the needed spacesuits or breathing apparatus and watch the Earth rise in the distance. Exhausted by their journey, they unroll their blankets and sleep. As they sleep, a comet passes. The Big Dipper appears with human faces peering out of each star.
Wait,
Saturn leans out of his window in his ringed blanket, and Phoebe, goddess of the moon, appears seated in a crescent moon swing. Then Phoebe makes it snow real hard, and they go into a mushroom cave.
At that point, he stopped reading the Wikipedia article.
Yeah, no, the Wikipedia article's not written.
Yeah, they didn't mention like the weird like just fire that happens.
Yeah, there's just some fire.
Yeah, it's just like actually was that? Yeah, that was at that point, I think. Yeah, there's just fire all of a sudden, and then the guy like almost dies, and then like anyway, yeah. So it's cold, so they go into the moon, which I said while watching that's rude.
Yeah,
but
someone lives there.
I mean, it's probably the hole that they made with their little bullet. So they go into the moon, and they, there's mushrooms and shit because that's cool. I like mushrooms in the moon. And
it's actually a very interesting, like, cool scene.
Yeah, like I think that's like my favorite of all the set pieces they used.
Yeah,
it's like very
and then
detailed.
He turns his umbrella into a mushroom, which is not explained. It just happens.
It's just, I mean, that's the entire movie, Ryan. You gotta accept that.
True.
Oh, apparently these aliens. Okay, so there's so like an alien shows up, and it's like looks like a lizard or something. I don't know. Apparently, they say it's an insectoid.
It does just kind of look like a lizard.
Apparently, then they're called selenites.
Yeah.
Named for the Greek moon goddess Selene. Okay, interesting. So,
unlike the previous moon goddess Phoebe, who we've already established is the goddess of the moon. Okay.
I think that's the oh, they're both, what? Is there two?
It says one of.
Oh,
one
okay.
Of the Greek moon
okay.
goddesses.
There are multiple moon goddesses apparently. Anyway, so so aliens on the moon. Who would have thunk? And they get like chased off kind of, but they also like fight back, and they whenever you kill one of the whenever you kill one of these, it just kind of disappear into a puff of dust like it's a video game.
Or like Power Rangers.
It's like a video game trying to keep its E10 rating.
They just kind of smack them with an umbrella and they immediately explode into dust.
Yes. Trying to evade the MPAA of 1902.
Which did not exist.
So yeah, so and then they go to like their like palace kind of, and they don't show it from the exterior, but and then they just kill the leader of all of them. They just kind of like body slam him to the ground, and he just
Yeah, they
disappears.
just
It's so
yeah, they just
beautiful.
freaking
Just
suplex him.
WWE'd him. Like
I
that was
forgot
my
about that.
favorite stunt of the movie.
How did I forget about that? We just watched it.
I literally pointed it
They
out to
just
you when it happened.
they just slam him.
It literally says
They make no effort to communicate with them. They just immediately kill a bunch of them and massacre their leader.
it says an astronomer lifts the selenite king off his throne and throws him to the ground, causing him to explode.
This is high art. Anyway,
So
then in a series of baffling events, what maybe to me was the most baffling, deserved or not, is how they get off of the moon.
yes, so
Which is they just push it. They just push it off.
so they're on like a ledge. Like it's somehow all of a sudden their bullet is on a ledge, and then one of the guys like grabs a rope on the front of it and then like jumps off the cliff and then pulls it with him, and apparently that works and they're in space.
It's
except they went down.
But little known about George Méliès is that he was a flat mooner.
Oh yes, he was a flat mooner. I forgot about that. So
Yeah.
now they're in space and they go home, and then they do like the actual like kind of realistic space recovery thing where they land in the ocean, and the ship comes and tows them back, and then apparently, well, actually, first of all, there's like a celebration. They came back, yay, they're alive. Except they, I don't know how they're alive because they weren't wearing spacesuits. But anyway, and then all of a sudden an alien shows up because apparently some
Well, the alien like grabbed onto the spaceship as it was falling.
yeah. So apparently some
then he's
aliens
there.
got back.
But then when he gets back, they're just vibing.
Yeah, they just like start dancing, and they like unveil like a statue bearing the motto "Liber omnia vincit," which is like Latin for "work conquers all."
I don't know what the significance of that is.
That sounds problematic.
Everything sounds problematic.
There's an
It's
entire
fine.
Wikipedia article for this motto, for this Latin phrase.
Anyway.
So yeah, so that
Oh,
I mean
no,
that's
wait, hold on.
yeah.
Apparently, it's a display of the captive selenite. They are British, even though they're French.
But no, but that was like it was like a wizard statue.
There was a wizard statue.
But was there another one?
No. It just, again, very professional. Definitely doing the research that you at home could not do. It says that there was a display of a captive selenite. Was that just the guy that was dancing?
I think that was the guy that was just dancing. But like, I guess they just imprisoned them, and then now they're captive.
I don't know if I would call that captive. I think I would call that pretty rogue.
Yeah. So
At
I mean,
large.
so yeah. Let's get into the themes of this movie. What did this all mean, if it meant anything at all? So the like. Apparently, the statue at the end was intended to satirize colonialism.
Which we brought up colonialism, although we were not. We were thinking more of it as being a part of the movie.
Yeah, well, it says it
Where
may
they go to another place. They go to another place, murder its inhabitants, and then leave and are celebrated.
Yeah, so this is all apparently a satirization of colonialism. So I guess it's like a critique of colonialism. I mean, I guess it's hard to like do
In a silent film, it's hard to get that across.
yeah, because it's hilariously like overacted and like very much satirical looking. Granted, like every film of that era looked satirical.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's an interesting twist. I thought it was just like, haha, white people do funny genocide.
Oh no.
That was a terrible, terrible joke.
But apparently Méliès was a political cartoonist, so
Okay,
It was
well,
good.
there we go. It's a political movie.
Makes sense. It's just every movie is political.
I guess
It's
so.
fine.
Yeah, so it's a strong anti-imperialist like vein in this movie's satire. So yeah,
I'll take their word for it.
I guess A Trip to the Moon is based.
I guess the Trip to the Moon is based. Based on what? Based on what?
Shut the fuck up. Okay, so yeah, apparently he was an anti-Bolañist political cartoonist. What is Bolañist? What does that mean? George Ernest Belanger was a general and
sounds like a Power
politician
Rangers
in
series.
France. He doesn't seem like a nice guy. Okay, I'm anti him too. George Méliès. How do you pronounce his last name, Ryan?
I think it's Méliès. But that might be
Méliès.
wrong.
George Méliès based. He probably
George
did some.
Méliès based.
He probably did some terrible shit though. I
I mean, most people do.
I don't want to immediately say this guy's cool because everyone
he's
in 1902 was a bad person probably.
I think everyone now is a bad person. I'm a bad person. I'm fucking terrible.
Everyone is a bad person.
Anyway,
We are all bad people.
I did not see anything about great controversies with Méliès, so I am going to hesitantly say that George Méliès is based in general.
All right, we'll come back in 8 years when we have completely been like
When we've been canceled.
we've been canceled on Twitter.
Yeah. I don't use Twitter, so I've already been canceled.
So yeah, I mean, this is all like this is all like people guessing because he never like said. He never said it. Yeah, this is like an anti-imperialist film at heart. He just kind of made it, put it out, and then people for an entire century are just kind of guessing at what he means by this film because it's
Yeah.
a lot to interpret. Or I guess it's
There's
like
a lot to unpack.
I guess it's little content that can mean so much.
That, you know what, Jared? That's really so profound.
Yes.
Fun fact about Méliès. I didn't have a good way to segue into this. I just thought it was funny. Well, he wanted to buy a film camera from the people who invented is a strong word because like 7 different people were inventing the film camera at the same time. But one of the people who invented the film camera, the Lumiere brothers, and they said, "No, don't waste your money. This is a fad. It's going to be gone in like a month." And here we are talking about it more than 100 years later.
Yeah, so this man,
shit, how dare you not know the future?
this man really thinking ahead.
Man, really thinking ahead.
Yeah, so
Although I will say, had film remained like this, I think it would have just been a fad.
it's just him doing the same thing for 100 years.
There's only so much of this you can take.
You guys want to see another silent film?
You guys want to see another trip to the moon?
I've made a trip to the moon 1 through 17. They're all the same thing. I just colorized them
Dune.
differently.
It's like Dune gets that into detail, but it's just this.
It's just Avatar.
Oh my god.
It's just Avatar. It's just like, oh god, when is Avatar 2 coming out?
Eventually.
Because it's already filmed.
6 years ago.
I haven't even seen the first one. I need to do that. Except I probably don't, because apparently it's not a great film.
Yeah, there's
Okay,
some
not
weird, like,
Yeah.
imperialist stuff.
Weird.
This isn't the Avatar episode.
Yes, that'll be later.
It will probably be eventually.
It'll be by the time Avatar 5 comes out.
I hope so.
I hope so. All right, so I think that's a good place to wrap this up.
So final thoughts, Jared.
My final
Rating out of
thoughts.
10.
Can we do a rating out of like 1902?
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna give that a.
I mean, I'm just gonna stick with my usual metrics. But you do you.
I'm gonna give that a. What am I gonna give that? I'm gonna give that a 15-17 out of 1902. Nothing
that's not
significant
terrible.
happened in 15-17 from what I can tell, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna look that up just to make sure I didn't like choose some year where something terrible happened.
Did you know this is so off topic? Did you know there's like a historically agreed upon worst year in history?
What?
I'll see if I can find it real quick. I want to say my usual metric is either a watch this out of 10 or don't watch this out of 10. But I'm a little bit split because, you know, it's really short and it's important to film, but it's also, honestly, guys, we're spoiled nowadays. Obviously,
Mm.
it's not that entertaining.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if you like, it's 14 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like if you are taking a break from your work or your homework or something, and you just want something to do for 15 minutes, just watch it.
So apparently, according to a cursory Google search, 536 AD is generally agreed as the worst year in history
Oh, I should have.
because the sun was literally covered for almost the whole thing.
Oh my god, it's like that one winter in like the 1800s where it just was so bad. Actually, no, it was like a
Yeah.
summer that was like a winter because the sun was like just covered in. Oh god.
Anyway,
Yeah, apparently in on August 15th, 1517, Portuguese merchant Fernão Pires de Andrade met the Ming Dynasty Chinese officials through an interpreter at the Pearl River estuary inlands, and apparently did some weird imperialism shit, I assume. So, yeah,
presumably,
yes. Anyway, so
Protestant Reformation. You skipped past that. You skipped Martin Luther publishes his 95 Theses to talk about Portugal.
oh, I didn't see that. Martin Luther publishes his 95 Theses. I got 95 problems, but the Pope ain't one.
We have the Pope was one. We have to end this.
Oh, the Pope ain't one anymore. He's done with that guy.
That's true. Pope's. We canceled the Pope.
Pope
We have to end
cancel.
this.
Fuck, we gotta cancel the Pope on Twitter. Does he have a Twitter?
Pope on Twitter?
Does he have a Twitter?
I don't know. You look it up. You're on the Wikipedia.
I forgot I was still sharing my screen. He does. It's literally at Pontifex. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna wrap up now before we go into a long discussion
Yeah,
of Pope Francis's Twitter account
If you wanna
and
go into
all
that,
of the
so we'll
all
do
of the bad posting on his Twitter account. All right,
Francis said the N word. We have to end it.
all right. Good night, good morning, and good lunch. Oh, I hit the wrong button.